Today, we're taking over Moonton's job. We're 5 Mother Killing Mortar players with over 40,000 matches of experience, and today we're going to talk about the 10 worst heroes in the game. And obviously, how Moonton should fix them. The heroes in this list are way too weak to join the meta anytime soon without any massive changes. So let's get started with the best waifu in the game, Almond. Now, if you haven't re-downloaded Mobile Legends with AppCoins yet, you need to do it today. On the 11th of September, there's a special event where you receive a special 10% bonus, which means you get a total bonus of 25% on all your diamond purchases when you use my code MLGuide. Basically, if you buy 1000 diamonds, you can get another 250 for free. You won't find a better deal anywhere else, so check out the pinned comment with the text tutorial or the special video tutorial that I have made so you can easily do it in just 2 minutes without having to re-download any in-game resources. It's 100% safe and legit, as you just saw when I bought 1000 diamonds for myself. Stop wasting your money and re-download Mobile Legends right now with AppCoins. Stellar damage with amazing survivability, the ability to easily steal the Lord at the most crucial moments of the game. Almond looks like the perfect choice for solo queue at first glance. But in reality, he has a lot of troublesome condition before he can truly shine on the battlefield. I mean, there are reasons why he has the 5th lowest win rate with 44.4%. First, the initial spin damage is so tiny that every enemy with a dash skill can easily outrun his Beyblade move. And since every meta hero, including your grandma, has a dash skill nowadays, it means every hero can easily escape him. And if he can successfully deal his continuous damage that increases over time, he basically deals nothing but tiny orc PP damage. You're welcome, by the way, for everyone who thinks my videos are cringe, and I hope you have a cringe attack right now. He can of course build some damage item to boost the damage, but this puts him into a very awkward position as his frontliner duty is to take the beating of the enemy. He won't survive for a long time without defensive items, and to make matters even worse, he's the kind of frontliner who is very bad at initiating team fights. He has absolutely no CC potential, so diving in first is totally out of question with a damage build. Can we make it even worse? Yes, we can! His ultimate deals almost no damage against full HP enemies. And let's not forget that Moonton also removed the slow effect, which means he can't bring down the HP of the enemies to unleash his devastating finisher unless his allies would help him, but come on, over 85% of us play mostly solo queue. And we all know we can't trust our random allies further than Jawhead can throw them. Secondly, and yes, there's even more, his passive is useless if he can't score any kills. If you're not aware of it, he recovers 20% of his max HP after killing a hero and 5% for killing creeps and minions. This increases the uncertainty of his durability in team fights. If you have, for example, a chaos-loving Angela in your team once again, who does nothing else but ult her marksman boyfriend who don't even need it, you can forget about taking down multiple enemies, as the second one will already become a big problem. So now the big question is, of course, how can we fix him without breaking the meta or do unrealistic changes that breaks his entire characteristics? Handing him a knife or a freaking Gatling gun is surely not the way to fix him. The first thing Moonton really needs to fix is his mobility. Dealing continuous damage with his helicopter move is already hard enough for him, so it would be pretty rewarding if his first skill cooldown can be reduced by 1 second per swing hit on an enemy hero. To balance that out, they can increase the dash cooldown by 2 seconds, and each swing can only activate this cooldown reduction effect once. So hitting 5 enemies doesn't reset the cooldown by 5 seconds. This is making him more flexible in team fights, giving him the opportunity to dash right after a successful helicopter move to chase the enemies. But it's also giving him a higher penalty when all the sweeps miss the target. Secondly, and maybe that is a surprise for you, but Almond is actually a fighter. Building him as a full tank is much more rewarding currently though than building him as a damage dealer. With a tank build, he gets a higher heal after each kill because he got higher max HP, and since he is dealing continuous damage that grows bigger over time, he needs enough defense to sustain the incoming damage. To fix this issue, I think it would be fair if he gains extra movement speed based on his extra physical attack. This he needs so the enemies can't escape him that easily anymore, and forces him to build some attack items. He could gain 2% of his extra physical attack as movement speed for each successful hit with a skill. So if he would build Hunter Strike and Bloodlust X, which gives him plus 150 extra physical attack, he would gain 3% movement speed for each successful skill hit. Meaning if he could land all of his swings, he would gain a movement speed boost of 21%. This could last for 3 seconds to really make it count, and the timer would reset itself with each successful skill hit. The bonus is still pretty small if you compare it to Marta's ultimate, but both changes fixes his mobility problem and lets him deal his continuous damage, while also forcing him to act more as a fighter with a hybrid build instead of a full tank. What do you think about our suggestions? There should be some restrictions to the movement speed bonus, so what would you implement for that? We would love to hear your ideas how to fix every hero on the list or even heroes we didn't mention. So let us know in the comments. Now enough about our top tier waifu. Let's move on to the black, oh wait, it's actually the blue window, Aurora. As the queen of the Northern Vale, Aurora can survive the global warning in the current meta. Her combo and skill profile is quite similar to the OG burst mage Eudora, but she does basically everything worse than our Magic Academy professor. This alone is a big red flag because why should you pick a hero that does the same like another one, just worse? Eudora has a much faster skill cast animation after her latest buff, which means the enemy has less time to react to her combo compared to Aurora's, because if you compare the two, there is a short margin of time to escape Aurora's meteor, while Eudora's lightning strike will always connect at least once before the enemy could escape. This alone already makes Aurora much weaker than Eudora, as the only job she basically has is killing enemies, and if she cannot do that, well, she's useless and becomes the 5th least popular hero of the game. But the absolute worst part about her is the passive Moonton gave her. I think we all know that Aurora can freeze the enemies using her passive, right? Now as a mid laner, she has to clear her wave every 30 seconds. And how can she clear minion waves fast? By slapping an attack speed item built on her so she can keep her stacks? No, of course not. She will be forced to use her skills, thus consuming her passive. And as you can only use 2 skills because you don't want to blast your ults into the minions' faces, the enemies can easily exploit this weakness and start a fight right when her passive is on 0 or 1 stack. And even if she uses her skills, her wave clear is painfully slow compared to other mages. And a slow wave clear is one of the worst characteristics a laning hero can have. That's why my recommendation for Aurora's revamp is not changing her original skill set, but that we make Aurora actually rely on her basic attack when clearing minion waves, and reward the player for keeping her stacks up. I would give her basic attack a similar effect like Wind Talker when her passive is fully stacked. Every 3 seconds her next basic attack could deal magic damage to up to 3 targets, which scales with her magic power, and the damage against minions is increased by 200%. Meaning when you want to clear a wave, you should have 1 stack ready, use your 2 skills to have your passive stacks up, and then use her enhanced basic attack to clear a minion wave much quicker. This will solve her laning phase throughout the whole match and give her a fighting chance while clearing a wave as her passive is up. This will make it possible for her to keep her passive on max stacks, which means she can use it more often throughout the whole match. Now let's move on to the hero who was once the figurehead of the support division, but fell down the card so much that many players even forgot that she exists. Matilda. As the only Boeing 737 in the game, Matilda got a very strong utility to help her allies flying around on her side. Even though Moonton already made a plan on revamping her ultimate on the advanced server, which improves her utilities by a lot, the changes haven't been implemented on the latest patch, so we can still play around and elaborate her problems. Basically, her kit is too niche to be used in solo queue. In epical glory or below, no wait. Nowadays I would even say in Mythic this statement counts. Most players just learn the basic mechanics for their favorite heroes and the game, so generally speaking they have no idea how the skills of other heroes work. This counts especially for niche heroes like Matilda, who are down in the drain for over a year now. And this is a very big problem for support heroes who are supposed to, well, support their allies. You can give out a free shield, which is nice of course, and that your allies may notice, but newbies won't notice that you can also give them an extra flying skill for repositioning, let alone being smart enough to make an awesome engage together with you. Most likely they will just randomly smash the appearing button, which completely wastes her second skill potential in a team fight. To fix this issue, I want that Moonton adds a manual call button after she casted her second skill, so you can force those headless chickens to fly with you who refuses to retreat from a 2v5 battle. And before you call me out because of the trolling potential this have, there should be of course an item to buy to reject this force call. Another thing that should be changed is her role as an assassin. I think her role is misleading and could confuse many beginners, so it would be better to change that. I also think that her passive is a little bit useless, but we want to make her balanced. So the ultimate buff from the advanced Sova would be enough for now. Let's move on to the next trashy hero, Phobiot. Introduced as the dashing red killer of the game, Phobiot started off decent but got forgotten very quickly after the REVAMP Mincita took his throne. Similar to Aurora, why would you pick Phobiot as a dash killer if you can have Mincy? There is one fatal problem that made him stuck in the unpopular cave, which is his goofy eyeshadow. He really needs to enroll himself in the Monium Beauty class and learn how to put up his makeup properly. Okay, that's obviously not the real reason. Phobiot is a very straightforward hero with predictable moves. His skills are mostly reactive towards the enemy's movements, which means he can't spam his ultimate if the enemies refuse to dash. Even if he managed to pop his ultimate and jump to the front lane, he can no longer go back to safety, and if the user is not experienced using Phobiot, he can be auto-baited quite easily by the enemies. But there's even one more annoying weakness he's cursed with. His mana consumption is higher than the current inflation. Even after building Cock of Destiny and Dominance Ice Cream, Phobiot still eats up a lot of mana in every battle. In a prolonged team fight, Phobiot can easily run out of mana with every jump that he makes, and running out of mana means certain death for him. My solution to this is to reduce his mana consumption on his skills, especially the ultimate, or Moonton could just add a restore mechanism on his first skill. So just like Valier's boards that reset every time when he hits a jungle creep. Like this, Phobiot could be also used as a jungler with a decent clearing speed, and sending him into the jungle would also solve his mana consumption issue because of the blue buff. The adjustments might sound very small, but having Phobiot as a flexible pick could improve his position in the meta. Especially because he isn't bound to any lane anymore, so he can actually be the anti-dash counter pick that he's meant to be. Next up we have the biggest clown of the game, Gourd. We've been clowning on Gourd in every tier list, and rightfully so. Even in the previous tank meta where true damage shined the most bright, nobody picked nor banned this blue weirdo. Neither in normal matches, and especially not in the pro scene. Wait a minute, they actually used this clown in an MPL match? There's no... Wait a freaking minute, they even won? Well, I guess our favorite clown finally became useful after all. So what now? I think we have to find another hero we can clown on, and I think I just found the perfect candidate. Our big dinosaur boy, Barrett. If you think about the things he can theoretically offer, you could think that he is an actual beast. With his passive up, he seems almost unkillable, as he can get up to 100 physical and magic defense and 50% resilience. His basic attack also becomes an AoE skill, dealing insane damage and slowing the enemy. Resilience means, by the way, that you reduce the time a CC effect is applied on you, except for a few hard CC effects like airborne, knockback or suppression. Talking about suppression, he's one of only 3 heroes who have a suppression skill. So why the hell is he one of the least popular heroes in the game? It ultimately comes down to one thing that he's lacking: speed. Not just movement speed, although he is really slow while slothing around the map. No, all of his skills and even his basic attack animations are slow AF and so easy to avoid. Although his ult is a suppression skill, it's only active after you ate an enemy. So it's easily possible to dash out of his range before the suppression skill kicks in. Now, there are multiple easy ways how to fix him, which probably means Moonton is not going to do that, but anyway. One easy fix will be making his ult unescapable. Sounds maybe a little bit OP, but then we have Franco who can just randomly suppress anyone. And while in this state, all of his allies can attack the target, while the enemy is untargetable when you devour one with Barrett. So I don't think that this is an OP mechanic that will break him. Otherwise you could just shorten the delay, make his skill animations faster and increase his movement speed. When he is becoming bigger, you could for example increase his movement speed by 0.5% per stack, giving him a 12.5% movement speed bonus on max stacks. This enables him to rotate around faster and makes it even more important to keep his stacks up. The delay after firing his second skill should be also decreased so it becomes easier to land, and since his damage and survivability is already good enough, I wouldn't change anything regarding that. Now with these changes I also wouldn't touch the duration when he's losing his stacks. Although increasing it from 12 to 15 seconds would be another nice buff, but that would mean you have to cancel another buff because otherwise he could become too strong. As I said, there are multiple easy ways how to fix them because technically he could be a great hero. Next up, okay, let the pain begin. After receiving 3 nerfs in a row in every season, it's hard for me to admit, but she's closer to the bottom than to the top tier right now. Moonton made it almost impossible to balance her, as it's just way too easy to activate her ult. So they basically nerfed everything besides the activation to make her easier to play. Well, actually she's currently harder to play than before with her 4 weaknesses, so Moonton just completely dropped the ball with her. And now they even want to remove her CC removal skill on her second skill. My god. I hope you guys really share the hell out of this video and Moonton actually sees how balancing works. Now, the easy choice would be just revert everything back how she was before the 3 weakness buff, but as this is unrealistic sadly, we have to stick with the 3 weaknesses and somehow try to make a balance. What really killed her was the mobility nerf, and honestly, I wouldn't change anything about that. A hero shouldn't have insane mobility without any restrictions like 1-1 had, so they should keep that nerf but revert some of the other nerfs. The first thing I would change is giving her first skill stun back. Especially for the late game, this was crucial, as it gave you that little bit more time to activate your ult safely on a single target and gave you the chance to lower the HP before you go flying. Secondly, I would also increase the range of her ult again. I know many of you won't like this change, but hear me out. I wouldn't necessarily increase it back to the pre-nerf status as your ult is just too easy to trigger. But finding a middle ground would be enough to make it possible for her to chase their enemies. I also wouldn't ramp up the damage that Moonton did on the advanced server, as this is enabling her to get 2 easy savages again, which makes her broken again. I would also keep the restriction to only activate your ult on targets where you broke all marks, but the ability to stun your enemies to activate your ult or to escape better because of the lower mobility, paired with a better chance to hit the targets you want with your ult would already make her more usable again. And the best thing is, that wouldn't break her again. Now, let me go a second off script because I rewrote this part 6 times as it's just a pain in the ass trying to make a balance. And all of this only because Moonton wanted to sell this goddamn Emerald skin. It's just so sad seeing when your main gets butchered and butchered and butchered even more. And yeah, you don't need to look at me like this. I bought that skin as well, so basically it's also my fault. Next up we have the...
Molina is so cute.
Now when we just look at her overall popularity, Nana has the 5th highest pick rate in the entire game. And you can even make a case that she's the main reason why many female players even try out MLBB. I mean, she was the reason my 8-year-old daughter wanted to try out playing ML. Now if we have a look at the mythical glory ranking though, her pick rate is very low and her win rate is atrocious. Even though the recent adjustments helped her in the laning phase, it came with the cost of her late game damage. And if you still remember the past nerf on her passive, she can only trigger it a few times per match now. This is is a problem in a way, because most players who pick Nana are either beginners who are just starting to learn the game, or godly Nana schemers that annoy you to the point of boldness with their Molina placements. But for the newbies that barely know how the game works, dying is pretty much inevitable. I recommend Moonton to revert the passive cooldown back to 120 seconds, or keep it on 150 seconds but give it an extra effect to ensure her safety whenever the passive triggers. Molina is a sweet little creature and the passive is literally called Molina's gift, so she could also leave a little gift behind for her enemies. Nana could, for example, leave a Molina behind whenever her passive is triggered. This Molina only inherited 50% effectiveness from the original, which means half the range, damage, debuff effect and control duration. The extra Molina is there to annoy the enemy who's trying to pursue her alone and to make her more effective in a team fight with the extra CC. Now, Moonton also made some weird changes on the advanced server and I just hope they revert this BS as soon as possible. Her ult is a perfect AoE skill that can hit multiple enemies, so just revert the nerf on her damage and all will be fine. Sometimes I don't understand why Moonton is so cautious with the buff on some heroes like Nana, but on the other hand they completely overbuff heroes like 1-1 or release OP monsters like Almond. And I mean, and Nana in the meta should be the goal for Moonton with all the cute skins that she has. But before I keep telling Moonton to buff heroes to earn more revenue, let's talk about our underperforming Monian Empire Queen, Sylvana. The changes on lifesteal and spellbomb ratio didn't help her performance at all, and even though her second skill is great for offense and defense, all of her skills are just way too easy to counter. Bring a Purified to deny her ultimate and stun combo, or even simpler, stun her to cancel her washing machine move. Then she's basically left with nothing more than mediocre damage and half-baked sustainability. The solution here is simple, and Moonton already implemented this change on the advanced server before. Give her CC immunity while she's inside of the Circle of Light. It will solve a lot of her issues in one go, and I don't even know why they cancelled it. If they think it's too OP, they could just reduce her healing abilities or lower the damage to balance it out. Or they make her second skill just immune to low-level stuns like Odette's ultimate. Come on Moonton, it's not that hard. Now since we already talked about our Monian Queen, let's complete the set and talk about the leader of the Knight's Order, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐿. As one of the OG heroes, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 used to be one of the best tank picks. Well, every tank MLB had was Franco, Akai, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 and Minus, so yeah, that wasn't as difficult. Slowly but surely, our boomer got outshined by the new kids on the block in the battle for utility and sustainability. The problem stems from his clunky skill set and clumsy. Yeah, this also describes his charge mechanism. Yes, when a hero charges, he can't jump over walls, which is stupid no matter how you look at that, but then maybe Moonton wants to keep it realistic and true to the theme, so heavy armored heroes like 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 added couldn't jump over the walls. I guess they are just too heavy to jump. Another thing to mention is his clunky ultimate mechanism. Since it takes him forever to pull the enemies before stunning them, the enemies often have enough time to escape or simply stun him to cancel the cast. No, I'm not going to show you the scene again where my ult got cancelled 4 or I think even 5 times in a row. That still hurts till today. Combined with the clunky flicker combo that only works in the first half of its channeling time, you get this amazing result of low pick rate and low win rate. So my recommendation this time is to add even more damage to his first skill so 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 can officially become the first tank assassin. I'm just joking guys, we're not Moonton who believe more damage will make him usable in high ranks. First, I would keep his clumsy charge skill, because looking at 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 deep kissing the wall is just pretty funny. So we fixed the main problem, which is his ultimate. If you compare 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 to Atlas, you can easily tell whose ultimate is better. Atlas has the same pulling effect as 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜, just that he can do it much quicker and better. You can drag the enemies to the desired location and you have CC immunity, so it's only fair to 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 to receive the same treatment as this handy protagonist. I won't even ask for an instant pull and stun, just give him CC immunity and his day will be so much better. And please Moonton, fix this junky old flicker combo for FFS, because I'm not allowed to say this F thing because otherwise demonetized. Next up we have our dead waifu queen, Vexana. Even though the latest adjustments makes her early laning phase much better, Vexana's biggest problem lies with her ultimate. Her so-called Eternal Gourd isn't really eternal at all. First, her ultimate cooldown is too damn long, especially in the early game. 60 seconds on first level, like, come on Moonton, you must be joking. Even Faster, who has a much better burst and range, has a shorter cooldown than that. Secondly, the Eternal Light is only there to deal an extra airborne effect. In chasing mode, this knight immediately loses its edge, despite the big size. Its damage is too small and relies too much on the enemy's max HP. Thirdly, the stupid knight has a big delay after every basic attack, so your enemies can easily fall back because it doesn't chase them right away, thus it's losing any momentum and damage potential in the team fight. I mean, unless the enemy is dumb enough to run right into him. My solution is simple, but before explaining why and how we need to do it, I need to introduce to you the 𝐷𝐷𝐿 cutscene. In this scene, Vexana got ambushed at their wedding ceremony by the demon army. Her spouse was controlled by Alice and started rampaging, and after witnessing the one-sided massacre, she realized her troops are fighting a hopeless battle. As the ruler, she had to make the hardest choice to save her people. So she called the power of the undead to eliminate her enemies. It worked, but the power of the undead came with a very high price. To keep her characteristic as an AoE mage, firstly we need to remove the goddamn knight and turn her ultimate into a soul strike that rains down in a huge area. The power of the undead will attack every ally, including allies. But Vexana is a gentle mother who cares about her subjects, so whenever she kills her own allies, their death timer will be reduced and the bounty will be halved. This will introduce a new mechanic into the game known as Deny, which will make the game and the hero much more interesting and fun. That's totally not inspired by a game called Dota. Now watch this video where we show you 10 tips every ML player needs to know. Also, a huge thanks to our MLG family members, especially the Mythical Glory members like Duelist and Voltrasmos. See you over there!